The other point I made in that 5-point plan, Alex, is that I'm suggesting that to the extent we have to maintain some defined benefit plan, that elected officials, constitutional officers, legislators, and I would say appointed officials, commissioners, deputy commissioners, should not be eligible, should not have the time. If they're going to be, if we have to maintain a defined benefit plan, then the time that you serve as an elected or appointed official doesn't count against your benefit plan. Because one of the things that I try to say in that release, that open and clean government release, is that we want to move back to more of a citizen statesman type of government, where people run and serve because they're there to serve the overall electorate. And the idea when you have health benefits and pension benefits tied to the service as an elected official, it gets a little bit complicated in terms of whether you're serving the broader constituent or you're running for re-election so that your benefit package can be expanded. And I don't. There's nothing evil about it. There's nothing illegal about it. My point is, if you take that off the table, then people will run primarily to serve.
I must admit I enjoyed your focusing on statesmanship, and as part of that, you also followed George Washington's lead and said you were going to self-impose a 2-term limit on yourself.
Correct. As my wife has reminded me, that doesn't mean I'm guaranteed that I'll run for a second term. She's in this. She's been great. She's in this enthusiastically. But my point is, if you work 6 or 7 days a week, you work 12 months a year, not simply work along when the legislation stops, go off and play golf or whatever else, but you're working in the full year, you can get a lot done in 4 years. The thing I'm saying is that the problems facing the state are significant. It may require, I may come to the conclusion that says, look, I don't believe we've got everything done that we need to do. I'm going to put myself back out in front of the public again and seek re-election. And the voters will have a chance to say yes or no as to whether I've done a good job. But under no circumstances, even if I were to run for a second term, would I run for a third term.
So I can't look forward to doing this again with you 8 years from now.
Not 8 years, 4 years from now maybe, but not 8 years from now.
Just making sure. Now, you also called for a change in the way our legislature meets.
Correct.
And you wanted biennial legislative sessions. Talk about how that works and
well,
what do you think
one
is
of the
important?
things that I would say to you, Alex, is that there are several states that have go to a biennial legislative session. Texas is one. I'm not saying that a biennial legislative session is a panacea and solves all things. My reason for putting that out there for serious discussion and analysis is I don't believe there's a real sense of urgency in our current legislative structure when we went to the, as I understand it, when we went to the biennial legislature to tie into the biennial budget, the biennial budget was supposed to be set in the so-called long term, January to June. And the second year of the biennial session was only to make, quote, adjustments in the budget that was passed before that. What happens is, we've got budgets in some cases aren't passed until special sessions. In some cases we have the second year actually being another whole budget year. There's a saying up in Massachusetts from where I work that said neither man nor beast is safe as long as the General Assembly is in session. So part of my rationale is if people aren't up there legislating, there can be less damage done to the private sector. And
I must admit a personal concern is that we've had so many wealthy candidates running for office. I'm concerned we become a bit like the Roman Republic. So I know you've called for campaign finance reform, and you yourself are not taking public money. Tell us a bit about what your thoughts are for.
Well, I opposed the concept when it was first introduced, Alex, 3 or 4 years ago, and to me it's a classic example where you have a problem that is manifested by one individual. Governor Rowland had to go through. People say the system didn't work. The system worked. He was indicted. He ultimately pled guilty. To me, the system did work in terms of the concerns that people have about corruption within that administration. We then leap forward and say, well, we're going to take all public money out. If you're a lobbyist or a state contractor, somehow you're a bad person, and that therefore you can't participate. And we're going to say, well, we're going to solve this by making taxpayer money available to candidates if they're able to achieve certain funding levels, $250,000 in $100 increments if you're running for governor. My point simply on this is that, and it goes back to my transparency point, if I go out, I think all of us should earn our funding the old-fashioned way. Sell the ideas to people, convince them that you're the right candidate, and ask for their support, and not limit the support from lobbyists or state contractors. Let them go in there. We have capacity, technological capacity today, that we should all be able to post instantaneously all those folks who contributed to our campaigns. And let the public and the press take a look at that. And if they want to criticize me as example for if I could take money from a lobbyist or state contractor, the public knows about it. And they know about it the day I that I deposit the check, not waiting till 90 days after. I think this idea of transparency and not excluding people from the system is critical.
Well, I know many of our viewers are probably impressed with you, as am I, and they may be looking to get involved with your campaign. What can they do if they are so inclined?
Well, it's great. Thank you for the lead-in. OzForGovernor.com is the website. Our telephone number in West Hartford, where our campaign office is 860-899-1368. We're looking for folks to put lawn signs up, volunteer to make telephone calls for us. Obviously, since I'm not taking public financing, I'm looking for financial help. All the form that needs to be completed to accompany a check or an online contribution is on the website. So those things, everything from volunteering, helping us, say, make the calls. If you have a business and would like me to come out and do a meet and greet session with your employees, would love to have the opportunity to do that, because the next 5 weeks is about getting more name recognition, more people to know who I am, so that on August 10th, people will vote for me as the Republican candidate for governor.
And while you may not have all the times down in your head, I'm sure you're doing a few things around the state in the next week.
Yes.
Where might somebody see you in the coming days if they're so
Well, I'll be up at the on July 4th. I'm at the Willimantic parade. I'm trying to think where else I am over the next couple of. You did catch me a little off guard with that.
Sorry
question.
about that one.
Oh, that's all right. No,
Didn't
that's
prep
fine.
you for that
No,
one.
but I think it wouldn't have been helped anyway, because I don't have it all in my mind. But if you're on our website, all the calendar is out there in terms of where I am. Certainly, you can submit your email address so you can get the notifications of where I'll be.
And just to clarify, that's www.OzForGovernor.com.
Correct.
No spaces, no underscores.
Correct.
Great.
Thank you for the clarification.
No, just double checking. I want to thank you for joining me this evening with Oz Griebel, our candidate for governor. This is our premier broadcast this election season for Brookfield Today and beyond. Our session this evening has been brought to you by the Brookfield Republican Town Committee. We invite any questions you may have for future sessions, and you can email us at www.brookfieldgop.com. Again, that's www.brookfieldgop.com for future questions for future candidates. And of course, again, www.OzForGovernor.com if you'd like him to address any questions or provide your support. I would like to close this evening saying that I think we have a very long and fruitful election season. I can tell you the convention was a total thrill. Rarely have we seen so much enthusiasm as people are getting involved with the electoral process. We invite you to join us. So with that, good night from Alex DeLucia.